or on this computer. There you go. I'll do a little introduction then to what we're trying to tackle this evening. And I should explain that I did say we would run 6:30 to 7:15. Now, you might have guessed I was being fairly optimistic. We will try and keep everything fairly tight because I know evenings are precious and you may have other things to do as well. But I'm happy to say both myself and Stephen, Bridget, are available way beyond that. We're happy to continue if that's where you want to go with it, but we'll try and keep it fairly focused. So you've got a fairly intense 45 minutes. And then after that, really, we're not rushing away anywhere. So bigger questions or stuff you need to unravel, particularly yourself, Sean, or some of the other folk who really do want to get under the hood, Stephen will be able to, go deeper if that's what you'd like. So just to make that clear. And we're going to probably keep these Monday tutorials going for a while at 6:30, dealing with specific issues each week. And you can zoom in or zoom out or look at the videos. We'll probably try and record them all and put them up so you can kind of skip through them. Tonight, we wanted to look at using the app to manage membership and check-ins. And you might have seen previously that we were flagging up that we should be able to do that in a variety of ways. Now, I'm going to give you a wee bit of an overview of what that might entail. And then Stephen is going to present to you just the kind of nuts and bolts of it. And when I say the overview, what I mean is the app can be used in a variety of ways to achieve the membership registration database stuff and check-ins. If you're already using a system to maintain your youth club membership, whether it's on paper or on an Excel spreadsheet or some other maybe sophisticated system, you can use the app just to link into that. You should already be aware that you can just place links within the app. So the main buttons on the app that you have put on for membership can just jump straight to your existing online system if that's what you have. And that's kind of the top end where you're already kind of fairly proficient and running a system, and the app is just used as a gateway, as a portal into that system. And that's fine. And the app will do that very easily. At the other end of the scale, if you're actually using bits of paper and scribbling things down on a Friday night youth club and keeping your membership records that way, then there's a whole other way in which the app can help to digitize that and provide you with additional features and reporting on your youth group activities. And that might be where you transfer your membership details from whatever it is you keep them in, whether it's a spreadsheet or an existing database, as a file on your computer, and you can transfer that and upload that into the app, and then the app will work with that information and allow you to report on it and use it for, say, checking in of an evening or simply doing a lookup. So you're off at the ice rink with a group of kids and you suddenly realize, I'm going to have to phone wee Johnny's mummy because he's broken his ankle and he's in the Ulster Hospital. And to get wee Johnny's mummy's phone number, you have to consult your club database, and you can do that from within the app if you've uploaded those details. And in between, there's another mechanism whereby you can use a blank, let's say a blank database template that's in the app, and get your individual members, young people, to fill in their details. And at this point, I'm going to share my screen and explain a little bit about what that could look like. And as I say, this is all a little bit provisional because we're not nailing anything down on the app in this regard until we've got a wee bit of feedback and folk using it in one way or another. So it's all still programmable. But I'm going to show you, and you've maybe already seen in the in the demo version of the app called Your Youth, I explained there what that might look like. So I'm going to share my screen and see if I can find that for you. Mad apps. Yes. So here we have. I'll just get that bar out of the way. The demo app with 2 columns and these various buttons or features. And on this one here, I've labeled it membership and attendance, or attendance and membership. And the sign up process I've described here is a 2-stage process, because what you might do first, if you're getting the young people to do all the work for you, is you get the young people to download the app or put the app on their phone, point their phone at a QR code, that'll do the same job. And they then, the young people themselves, fill in this initial bit of the data collection form. So all they complete is their name, their parents' name, and their parents' contact details, email and phone number. And that's all the information that you get the young people to fill in. And they can do that from within the app. And to get the app on their phone, as I say, they can go to the store or they can point it at a QR code, either way. That's the first bit of the data collection that you would do. The second bit of the data collection is probably the more important, where the details that you need to manage membership are derived from the parent or guardian filling in the rest of the details and getting their permission for you to collect the data and so on, and allow for, so I'm just going to run down here. This was part of what I was going to share with you, to see if, when we provide the open template of the membership database, I want to make sure we include all the fields that you would want, and more perhaps, because maybe you won't all use all of the fields. So just ignore the fields that you don't think you'd want to collect information for them. You don't need to, but they're there for somebody else, if you follow. Now, yeah, and I should assure you at this point, by the way, that each of your individual club's data is not gathered with everybody else's. It's all separate in a sense. So you'll only have access to your data. Each club will only have access to the club's own data. But I'll explain about access later. I'm just running through the likes of the main fields that you get the parent to collect. So the young person's name, first and second name, their date of birth, home address, postcode, potentially the young person's mobile number, student's school, the mother's name, the father's name, mother's mobile, father's mobile, emergency contact number, parental emails, any special needs of the young person, any medical conditions or allergies, permission for first aid, permission for photography, permission for using Zoom, those kinds of things. So you gather all of that potentially in one fell swoop from the parent or guardian. And I'll give you a list of what those fields are, and you can give us some feedback on if there's any others that you would want. But don't worry if you think, oh, well, I wouldn't use those. You don't have to. You can just leave those blank, and you can equally not have them visible for whenever you're collecting them. So that's the kind of the way in which you can use the app to gather your information. But if you've already your information gathered and it's in a spreadsheet, we just need to filter your information into this format, and we'll go through what that looks like. But that's the kind of overall. That's the kind of introduction, and I know it's kind of throwing everything at you, but I'm going to hand over to Steve. Well, I'll check for questions now, and then Stephen can talk you through that in more detail. Any questions on that? Was that clear enough? Were there any bits of that you think, oh, flip, I don't know where you've gone with that?
No, it was very, very clear, John. It looks like a Google form templates, are they?
That is,
then you customize.
Yes. That is, and that I just bunged that in because it was dead easy to do.
Yes,
so
okay.
We won't be using Google Forms. We'll be using no, we won't be using Google Forms. We'll be using a built-in form into the app using the Python database.
Okay.
But if you have yours in a Google form, you can export it into a G sheet and upload it as a CSV or an Excel. Yeah, but we won't be using Google Forms.
Right, idea is you custom build something, and then that's how you'll have the information in the back end then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Sorry, John, just wanted to check. With the form that you're putting together, will it be easy enough for us to select and unselect whether a field is required to be filled in before the form's saved?
Yes, you'll be able to. Well, no. Actually, let me not answer that, because I think you'll be able to choose which fields are shown in your table.
That's perfect. Thanks.
Is that right? Is that right, Stephen?
Yeah, it can make it flexible, so there'll be some optional fields. Yes, yeah.
The really clever stuff comes whenever you've got the information into the system, and then as people check themselves into either the weekly youth club or a special event or whatever, Stephen can build reports that you can then query. You'll be able to query the thing. So the first one you'll be able to do is a lookup table. So the very simple thing, the two things that we're going to do is provide a lookup table, so you can say, oh, what's wee Johnny's phone number, or what's wee Johnny's mother's phone number, or did wee Johnny's mother give permission for X, Y, and Z. So a simple lookup table is what you'll get at the start. And what was the second one we were going to do, Stephen, at the start? We looked at it earlier. I think the way of collecting it might have been the two, a way of collecting it and the lookup table. But down the line, you'll be able to interrogate the data from the app to find out how many people were at the youth club, over the month of September, and has anybody on the database missed for 3 Fridays in a row? So you can begin to think, oh, right, so wee Johnny has fallen off the edge there. And you begin to then see that there's a kind of a pastoral follow-up that you might want to use. So you'll be able to interrogate the information and get it to report things for you in a way that you couldn't do with paper or with just a simple spreadsheet. But I've taken up maybe too much there. Any other quick questions before that, Stephen, actually go deeper?
Is there a plan to do a special event form? The way for an outing you need that would be quite a good one, John, if it could be added in.
Yes. Now, by that do you mean special permission for an event, or just a check-in for a special event?
Oh, well, the form and then allowing them to check in. I suppose maybe that's separate, that's outside of this, because it would just be the check-in.
Oh, yes. So if you were wanting folk to sign up to go away for the weekend, and you've got
bowling or something like that.
Or bowling, yes, and you've got 50 on your books, but only 20 of them are going to turn up. So you've got to have a list of these 20 are signed up for the bowling. And when you turn up to the bus, you want to check them in that they all turned up for the bus. Yes, that'll be ready before very long. Yeah. If any of you have stuff that you are keen on getting really fairly quickly, or there's a deadline, that there is something coming up, do let us know now, so that we will try to meet any of those deadlines. So just to throw that in, but the pressure is really that's the pressure for Stephen. So I'll let Stephen maybe follow up on that broader intro.
Okay, let's see if I can.
Oh, I'll unsure. And
right.
So Stephen might end up sharing.
Okay, hope there's the right one there. Can you see that now? So I put points on a sort of sheet, just listing the functions you would need like for a system. And the idea is just you could add members, basically. And you might have a spreadsheet already of existing members that you could upload, or you could individually enter members by a web form yourself, or maybe the young person or their parent could enter the details. And then later on, you might want to edit the member details if someone changes their phone number or and extra information. Then, and also a thing for archiving. So the idea was, if a young person is too old maybe to come, or just had moved, decided not to come, you could sort of archive them just to have a record that they had been attending up to a certain point that year. Then the attendance check-ins, the day was when they arrived each week. You just look for their name by typing in part or all of their name and then click that they arrived. Or if you might have a weekend away event and you record that they arrived. And then a lookup search, that was a day where you could say you needed to find the contact details for one of the young people because the parents hadn't arrived to collect them or something, or they injured themselves. You could search by the name and maybe the age range of the person, etc. And it was also do a sounds like type function. So some people might spell their name slightly differently. And then a report John had mentioned there. So you might want to know how many people have attended each week for the past 6 months. Or you might know who needs to give consent form in for the weekend away, or who's been missing for the past 4 weeks, for example, and you want to follow up to see if they're okay and if they're coming back. And also there'd be a login. So the idea is that this sort of person member attendance data would be restricted just to the youth group staff. And it could be either like a one group password for all the staff that are doing check-ins, or maybe it's probably better individual staff username check-in. And you only access information for your own group. You wouldn't see information for other groups. And then to record that information, there'd be 2 tables, and one is like a person or a member table. So that would be basically every record in a database has got a table got a unique number, but also they'd have like an app record, and that's to sort of indicate which youth group this person belongs to, and you only see the records for your group. If you archived it, there'd be an archive date. The type of member, so you might have like an ordinary member, you might have a visitor just there for one night. You might have a young leader who's not be like under 18, but you assign them as a kind of a young leader. You might have a staff member, because I know our youth clubs would keep a note of staff that attend each night. So it's just the first name, the last name, the age or date of birth would be better, and the contact name and phone and email for a parent. Or if the person's over 18, you just put in self for the name and then put in the person's own phone and contact, and then a second contact name as well. A medical note might be useful. So sometimes you'll know for allergies, for example, or any conditions that A&E might need to know about, maybe like diabetes, epilepsy, or any emergency or important medicines. And then just general notes. You might want to be about their interests or hobbies, so you makes it easier to chat to them sometimes, or just to distinguish between two people with the same name. So even a nickname column might be useful, because sometimes no one has a BB. I was always known by my nickname rather than my real name. An optional photo, if the young person or the parent agree. Sometimes it might be handy, but look at the photographs if you're trying to recognize people. And then the date of the consent for the youth club. But then also separate consent for a weekend away. At the minute, the consent would just be paperwork, paper forms, basically, and then a date of registration. So that would be the information in the member table. You just enter that once for each person, and you might update it then. There's some additional fields I can explain later. But then each time the person attends, there'd be an attendance table. And that's just like a record to record the attendance. And then the app name again would be your youth club name, which is SM from our Madness, or the Methodist Youth Group name. Then the event, so you might be a Friday night youth club, or it could be a weekend away or a sleepover the attendance is for. And then the member, so this links, that is an ID number that links back to this table here, to this ID number here. And then you have, if the dues were paid that night, if you have like a weekly amount you pay, and any comment about the attendance, and like maybe the person had to leave early or something, and the date they attended. And then we wondered about these additional fields for the member table, things like you need to record your home address and postcode, or the person's own mobile number, or school, special needs, allergies, which is kind of the medical information. Does the parent give permission for first aid, youth group photography permission, consent for using Zoom, or for using the minute text chat facility, and which groups you might want to attend. we were like optional things we were thinking. So that was the two main tables of information really there, and that was the list of functions.
Very good, very good. Do folk want to ask some questions now and maybe spell out the different stages that you're at in terms of using it? Now, we haven't gone into the check-in procedure. I can't remember if any of you were there at Madness this year. And we had to translate all our registration information into a mechanism where we could check if somebody who had booked a ticket actually turned up, and as well as booking the ticket, they also had to sign in to say they didn't have COVID, or they were doubly vaccinated, and they hadn't spoken to anybody in the past 6 months that ever knew about COVID or any of that. So when they had signed that, whenever they had checked all those boxes, then and they turned up in person, we were able to sign them in. And all they did was point their phone at a QR code, which allowed them to fill in the actual boxes. And then our admin team were able to check them off on the way in. Now, we'll get into that end of it in a second, but happy to take any queries now, or even just some sharing of where you're at individually with this kind of thing in terms of the maintaining the membership stuff and any kind of check-in procedures. So love to hear from you.
That was interesting there, Stephen. Thanks for that. I think just from our point of view, we're capturing a lot of data in different ways. So we currently have what's called Cognito forms at the moment, and they're linked to all the websites. And we also use Google Forms. And now we've got our own database that we're launching in the next few months. So it's just my concern is at this point is just don't want to confuse the information. We're hoping to kind of manage to get all this kind of coming together, funneling in the one stream, if you know what I mean. So but in terms of a lot of the data that's being captured is very similar to what we're trying to get off people, and the registration forms work quite well at the moment. So it's just to hopefully like to see this kind of gel together with everything else we're doing. That's just first time looking at how it works here.
Yeah.
But I would definitely like to kind of speak to you. I don't know, obviously not tonight, but down the line, just to show you, our database system and how this can potentially work with it, if at all. It mightn't be able to, but I would hope so. But but very interesting so far.
Yeah, that'd be good. Good to talk to you about that, because we share ideas and yeah.
I think probably you're at a point, Sean, in the Northwest, which is relatively far ahead of many of the other groups in the voluntary sector here, and as such, it may be that you simply use the app to connect with the young person, and they look at that, or your leaders use the app to connect to Cognito, and so the lookup system and whatever the back end you use is just accessed through the app, and you can configure all of that yourself. So I doesn't sound like you'll actually need the database functions within the app, because you're already committed to a particular path with Cognito, and then maybe beyond Cognito into your own database, and the app will be the portal. It allows you to access it and interrogate it. What I'll maybe just speak into with that, because it's something that the other groups may find helpful as well, is that when you do interrogate the app to find out somebody's details or whatever, the screen or the button that you'd be using would be password protected. So as you all probably know, you can determine who sees what on your app. And so you can have elements of the app that are exclusive to your leaders, whether they're voluntary or paid, doesn't really matter. But you can determine if there are certain pages that are actually only there for your leaders' benefit, and the young people don't see those pages or those buttons at all. So some of the database stuff will only be interrogated by leaders, but even within the leaders' pages, which aren't visible for young people, you can still password protect those as well, so that some of the data may be restricted to only certain of your leaders. So I'm just putting that out there because that might be something that you find useful enough, Sean, even though you've got all the database there. The pages or the buttons that you want people to access that through can each be individually passworded or can be restricted to a group within the user base. Anybody else?
That was great, John. That's what you're saying there. One of the challenges we have at the moment is keeping the rota up to date. So with leaders coming and going, and what week are you doing, kind of thing.
Yes,
so that would be a fantastic use maybe for that. If we could have a page password protected for leaders instead of constantly running around paper copies or WhatsApp texts.
Yes. That would be very good. It may be in terms of the rota that you might. I mean, we can pick that up at another time. But it strikes me that you could use the calendar function for the rotas. So the calendar stuff that I was recommending, that's really handy to use. I'm just trying to find it here. Events and signups.
I've seen it, but maybe it's for another time.
Yeah. So you could create a team up calendar for your rotas, and of course, password protect the button that takes you to the team up calendar. Just a thought. Do you want me to explain what I mean there?
No, that's okay. The other thing I was just going to say, so this looks great. You see, in the wee country hall in the middle of nowhere, is this going to work without Wi-Fi, or does it, like, QR codes need Wi-Fi, don't they?
They do.
Okay. Yes, and interrogating the data, can that be done on the phone, or do you need a laptop then to access that?
It can be done on the phone, or no, phone, tablet, anything. I mean, 4G. And let Stephen explain, because Stephen also has a wee country hall situation.
Okay.
Do you want to unshare your screen,
yes.
Stephen, just for a second, and we'll see each other then?
Yeah.
Great.
Yes, at the moment, basically, information is kept on a web server. It's like one of the Amazon web servers, cloud, and the idea would be you would need either Wi-Fi or mobile data to actually connect the information.
Okay, great.
But then you can use a mobile phone or a computer either to access it. I'd set it up so that on a mobile phone there'll just be fewer columns shown, so that you can still read the text, and then press an extra button to see more information. So you might just, on a mobile phone, you might just see the name, first name, second name, and age. That would be all you might see in the row. And then if you wanted more information, you look for, press the more button.
Okay. We are hoping to get Wi-Fi as part of the grant. We've got the Wi-Fi package, but there's no signal. So we've got the dongle set up, but there's no signal. So we're getting a guy in this week to look to see if we can get it wired through the attic or something, or see if we can do something. But definitely good to have it, even if it's I assume we can download the database onto the laptop. Well, I don't know how that works with GDPR, but hypothetically we could download that information, like the emergency contact numbers, to have.
Yeah.
Could we?
Yeah. You set it up so you could download it onto like a local laptop, really. Yeah, and just use the one laptop for storing your information.
Then lock it away in the cabinet, and it's
it's possible.
Thanks.
Yeah.
If you had a tablet, the app, of course, will run on a tablet as well. And
I have an iPad. Would it run that?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. All you need to do is share your 4G signal from your phone, so that the iPad can pick it up. Did you follow what I mean? So
you just, that implies your mobile has signal, though, John.
Oh yes,
we're probably in the sticks, you see.
Right,
you do signal either.
Right. Okay. Sorry.
But hopefully we'll get that resolved. Yes, I know what you're saying. I know that we could use a hotspot. Yeah.
Yes. Hotspot. Yeah.
Okay.
So yes, it's designed to run on a tablet equally well. You know,
Okay.
the menus and everything will run equally well on the tablet. Anybody else want to share where they're at with this, or what they had in mind when they were thinking of coming along tonight?
Can I just ask, the IMYC app, which is the one that's come down, filtered down through to the Methodist Church, it looks slightly different to your youth app, which
Yes.
is quite cool. But I don't have registrations and stuff on that. I'm just wondering, is that something that we're going to get, or is that was that an IMYC decision? Maybe it's to do with safeguarding on our side of the hub.
I think it's simply a matter that they hadn't done anything centrally, and I may not have. Well, they may have seen that demo app that I did, but they didn't start off with all of the pages on it. So I can give you a link to all of the pages on that. What I can share it to you again, but it was just illustrating how I would go about it if I was doing a local youth group, and sharing the process and the sample fields that I would use. If we get a bit of a consensus around what fields to use, what we will do is hardwire a form into the app, and you can then say, could I have the page that gives me access to the hardwired form for using as a database? So what we'll be doing is we'll be providing the hardwired form within the database, and we'll be providing an upload mechanism where you can actually upload your own information from a spreadsheet or CSV. So that's what we're working on now, is to provide the hardwired form and the upload mechanism. Isn't that right, Stephen? That's that would be our two next goals.
Yeah.
Does that make sense,
So,
Ruth?
yeah.
I mean, it's not going to take us long to do that. It was really just pausing at the start to ensure that we've captured everything we need to capture, and then offering that to. So I'll send an email around to everybody and give you the code for that page. Where now, let me just query you when you're all there. The process that I described was, if you want to capture the data from the app, you want to use the app to capture the data. I suggested that you share the app with the young people. The young person provides their little bit of information, which is their name and their parents' details. And then either the app or you email the parent to say, here's the registration form for the youth group. Could you complete this for your son, little Johnny, or your daughter, little Jemima, or whatever? And they fill that in, and that becomes your registration database. I think I broke it down to those two parts because I didn't want. Well, you have to include the parent or guardian in asking many of the other questions. You can't just ask that of an under 18-year-old. So that's the way I saw we would go about it. Any reflection on that?
I just wanted to ask, where I'm coming from is I've just started and I'm sort of rebuilding everything from scratch from paper records.
Yeah.
If I've got a, say, young person who's in more than one organization, so traditionally they need a form for each one, is there a way to access a master database where you can see they're in all these clubs, here's all their data for this, or does it all have to be entered individually?
Well, that'll be a question for Stephen as well, but in the I'll share my screen again very quickly, because in the example that I gave, let me just get back into the, so in this here, in the registration stuff, it's possible for one of the questions to be, which group or groups does your child wish to attend? And then it's a checklist of, BB, fellowship, youth group, Sunday club, Gaelic club, whatever. And that would then capture all of the information, and it would be available to any of those group leaders, but it would be one capture rather than asking the parent to fill in the same information 3 or 4 times, they would do a checkbox. Now that's something where we would need to put in as many variations there as everybody might want, and then you pick which ones you want to show.
Okay.
Is that what you're getting at there?
Kind of, yes. If along that line, say they enter like one organization and then they decide 3 weeks later they also want to go to something else, can then go back in and just tick another one of those boxes and it'll be added in, or does it need to start all over again?
You would, I mean, Stephen can talk about the technicality. I would suggest you do have to go back to the parent to get the parent to say, yes, I'm happy for wee Johnny to go to the swimming club as well as the BB club.
Oh no, and I know that. I mean, but once you've got their permission for them to go to both, can you just then tick?
You'll be able to, yeah.
You could share it, yeah. So it'd just be same record of details for the young person, and an extra column for BB, a column for youth fellowship, to say that they attended that. Yeah.
And that's possible for the leader to add that on afterwards. I think Jordan's getting at that. So that can be done after the initial capture.
Yes, the idea, yeah.
That's perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. At the initially it started just for one organization, and then it's sort of extending it to more, like that's the idea, really. Yeah.
Yeah, John, I like the way you've designed that for them in the 2 halves, definitely for the older kids, because that kind of gives them that responsibility, and they'll maybe think that's cool, be able to scan the QR code and doing half of it.
Yeah.
There'll be the option for them to send it to their parents, will there?
Yes. Oh, yes, because the second half of the form will be on the app as well. So they can say, they can hand their phone to their parent and say, look, would you fill that in? There's the app. But the parent can equally do it on the app as well, on their own phone. So
and
yes.
There's no option for a parent. If a parent isn't tech savvy and they're a bit more backward, is there an option for them to then at that point go paper form or anything?
Yeah. So if the parent would rather fill that in on paper, then you can provide the paper and maintain the paper, and then you fill in the digital version of it, because you still need the lookup. So you'll still want all of the information on the paper digitized into the system so that you can have a complete lookup. But yes, that's just a kind of management function that you work out locally, where if the parent says, oh, I don't like tablets and phones, sure.
Okay. And we have a lot of P2, P3s, so there will be an option for the QR code just to be all completed by parent as well and checked in.
Oh yes, yeah. Yes, you could you could ignore the first bit and just email the parent and say, or make an announcement, or the QR code, give the QR code to the parent and say, like, would you fill in this form if you want your child to be part of the what do you call it, the junior section of the Scouts or whatever it is.
Okay, great, thank you.
John, just a wee question there. See, if you have multiple age groups in your club, is it a different QR code for that age group on each night, or which way would that work?
It's the one QR code probably for gathering information, because it's all going to the one database. But in terms of checking in, there's a different process, so I'll get back to that. But the gathering of the information is likely to be one QR code for everybody to go on to the database, but or just a button on the app. You don't actually need the QR code to gather the information. But if you're wanting people to check in as they come to the youth group, that's different again. And there's maybe we should just actually have a wee look at the check-ins if you want to have a bit of a conversation around that, because you can do the check-in in a variety of ways. And if you want to capture the image of the young person, a picture of the young person, so that you can have, and I'm not talking about facial recognition going into the youth club, stand there, look at that camera, and we're not at that level just yet. But if you have got a leader who maybe isn't familiar with everybody's name, but they can see, they can have an iPad or a tablet with a list of all the young people, and it's got their name on it and potentially a picture of them as well. And all they have to do is tap that to check the young person in. So that was one of the mechanisms that we were looking at, whereby you've got 50 people on your books, and they're all turning up on a Friday night. And as they turn up, the leader checks them in to say, yes, they're here. And to find them on the list of 50, you can have an alphabetical list of 50. So it's easy. They just say, what's your name? And you say, I'm John Key. And they look down their list, hit John Key, and that's them checked in. Or they can have a grid of images, and the images would be arranged alphabetically as well. So they can check, funny enough, you don't quite look like John Key. Where's the beard gone? And your hair has disappeared as well. So are you really John Key? So we're looking at a variety of ways in which you can check people into weekly events or one-off events.
Yeah, the way I thought about it just was like a table basically listed, and then you would put in the columns for a person's first name, second name, and optional ID number, and you just type in the start of their first name, and then it would just narrow down the search, and you just click on the person then to say has arrived. Basically, yeah.
That was the second thing, actually, Stephen, that we talked about. The two things that we're promising in the short term is the lookup table and the check-in table.
Yeah,
that were the two things that we're working on first: the lookup table and the check-in table. So once you've got all your information on the system, those are the two things that you'll be able to operate from within the app. Any other queries? It's now 17 minutes past 7, and the 7:15 deadline was simply to give people permission to leave at 7:15 and not feel embarrassed at all. So we're not in any hurry away. I'm just pointing out the time in case anybody does want to leave, but I'm keen that we still work away on this and get to the bottom of any issues or queries that you have.
Well, John, if you have more time, like.
Yep, yeah, no, work away, work away.
So one of our biggest concerns at the moment is we're scared to promote our youth club because of ratio numbers, because there's a lot of young children. We're worried we're going to get too many kids and not have enough leaders to support. So I really was excited about this, because maybe they could check in advance or say, I'm planning to attend, and then we'll have a really good idea week on week of numbers and can ensure the ratios then are matched for that. So is that something, like, I know you're talking about when they actually arrive, and we also need that as well, but is there a way to preempt a check-in and then also have the check-in, a bit like what you said, maybe it's Summer Madness?
Yes, Stephen can explain that in a little bit more detail, actually, because there is a bit of a parallel there, because your registration is basically the same as our ticket registration. So we have sold, let's say we sell 500 tickets.
Yeah.
But you never get everybody turned up anyway. So you've sold 500 tickets, but you still, we wanted people to sign a COVID declaration. So as well as buying the ticket, which gets them on the database, they had to fill in a COVID form to say, I'm coming and I can guarantee that I don't have COVID, I've got my vaccines, or whatever. And that's like your thing where they actually check themselves in for the upcoming Friday night or whatever it is. And then when they turn up, you can check. And what you're checking is not the registration database, but you're checking who said they were going to come. And that's the kind of thing. So that's roughly, but Stephen could explain it, a wee bit more what's behind it, because I wasn't there on the ground doing the check-in with people.
Yes, the idea was just people would check in within 48 hours of coming to Summer Madness to say that they've no COVID symptoms, and that if they did have symptoms, they wouldn't come, basically, so, and as long as they did it within 48 hours before they came, and then when they arrived, we would just check to see that they had completed that declaration, and then check them in to say they arrived.
Okay, great, thank you.
And Summer Madness, we use like a ticket number for finding the person quickly, or you could use the name or the youth group. So there was basically a table on the screen on your phone or your tablet, and you would put in either ticket number or the name, and you could filter by the youth group if you want to.
The other thing, Claire, just as a really quick way of dealing with your particular scenario, and I know I referred to it earlier, but I think this is a useful workaround for any of us to use right away, and that's Team Up. So
Okay.
if you have you used Team Up yet?
No.
So the Team Up is the calendar function that I'm recommending for the thing. So you do have to sign up for a Team Up account. It's free. It's free.
Yeah.
But in all of the events that you put on the Team Up calendar, because it's a great way of sharing what's happening anyway. You know, so you can have a youth group calendar, and all the young people can see what trips are coming up and what nights are what on, and your parents can see what's coming up as well. And for every event on the Team Up calendar, you can set it that there's a maximum of, say, 30 people. And the young people can say, oh, there's Friday night, I'm going to that. And they click on and they put their name on against that night. And they can put their name against every Friday night, or just 3 out of 4 of them, or whatever.
Great. Yeah,
And
that's perfect.
And then you get a list of the names of people who are going to the Friday night or special weekend. And at that point, you get an early indication of numbers.
Okay.
And the handy thing with Team Up is you can set a limit. So if you know, I'm only going to have 3 leaders on that particular Friday night, you can actually set the limit to 30 or whatever it is, and tell everybody, in fact, message everybody on the app and say, you know, our numbers are limited on the 3rd week in September, so put your name down, and get them in the way of using Team Up to sign up. So it's a crude but effective sign up mechanism. And you can use it for a weekly situation or one-off.
Great, John. No, that'll be very helpful, because I'd looked at trying to upload. I have a PDF, you know, I'd built out the calendar, but like I couldn't get it dragged in. So that's maybe a bit more effective.
Next week, I'll tell you what. Next week, I'll do the tutorial just on calendars and events, and I'll go through the Team Up. But the Team Up thing is unbeatable. It's free. You can have 8 different calendars on it. And you could use one of those calendars for a rota for your leaders, and one of them for online events, one of them, and another one just for, you know, in-person events, all of that. So I'll maybe do next week's just around the Team Up calendar.
Okay, thank you.
No problems. Anything else there?
This one maybe isn't quite to the back end technical style of Stephen's level, but and mostly because I'm nosy. Is there a way of actually jumping? You know, the app that I'm actually doing is the one for our district. So is there then a way of me kind of going, okay, well, Dundrum have an app, I want to go and look and see what they're putting in on theirs. Cork have one, I want to go and look at theirs. Is there a way of doing that without uninstalling the app, reinstalling it, and selecting the, which I have done, sadly. Is there another way of doing that?
There's 2 ways. I was thinking, at the moment, the installed app, like from iPhone or the Android store, only allows you to have 1 group in it. But in the future, I'm going to add it so it'd be a main menu, and you could optionally have 2 or 3 groups in the one app, because you might find some young people go to 2 different youth clubs. So it would be, you know, different nights or something like that. So, and the other, but at the moment, what you can do is look at the web app. So if you look on the web browser, you can look madapps.uk and then / and your group name, like Southern Youth, say.
Yeah.
But then you can change that to another youth group, and you'll see their app.
Not set up. You can find instructions in the help section of your Alexa.
Sorry, that's Alexa. Listening, yes, giving me advice as well here, what to say. But yeah, so you could go like madapps.uk / SM, and that would show you the Summer Madness app.
Okay.
Yes, and
I need to know the name of the group's app.
Yes, so all you need to do is know the name of the group's app, and you'll be able to see it in the browser.
Yeah, it's a short name, like
on your laptop or browser. And if you have a role in shaping the whole of the Southern areas one, you could get the sign-in details and help them with it as well. Or we could maybe arrange that your sign-in allows you access to their back end as well. So, you know, it could be that you just go to them and say, can I help you with editing your app, or can I see what's going on there? Because we want to share it. And in the grander scheme of things, we want to create a library of pages that everybody using the Mad Apps things can say, oh, see what they're, I would like that page, you know, see what so-and-so has done. They've developed this game online and I would love to be able to do that. Or somebody's developed a quiz or a treasure hunt, and there'll be a library of pages that we can share together within all of the apps. So the quick shortcut is to see the other groups on the browser, but if you actually want access to their editor, you know, you could just give them a shout and say, look, can I have a look at your editor as well? But eventually we'll be able to share pages between the different groups.
Cool.
Anything else? Okay, I think we'll draw to a close, but if anybody wants to hang on and dig deeper, or if you've got really techie questions, I'll bow out and you can speak to Stephen. The system is built on Python, and if anybody knows any other Python coders, will happily share some of the workload out on Python. But yes, if you're a Python coder, that'll come in handy. But equally, if you're used to designing style sheets using CSS, cascading style sheets, that would come in useful as well, and we'll happily give you some work to do using Python or CSS. But that's all in Stephen's direction. I don't know what side he's on from me.
Would love to help Stephen, but no technical ability, unfortunately. I work in IT. I work with the guys in IT, and I'm like, there you go. This is like draw on my page. You make it happen.
Very good. Very good.
They don't like see me coming.
Well, we'll try and keep these Mondays going for a while at 6:30, and as I say, I'll advertise them for 45 minutes, but we'll be in no rush away. But it gives people permission to slip away, so they've got an intense 45 minutes and more if they want. Is that okay? Will I wind this down?
Thanks.
Brilliant, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Good to see you all. Take care.
Okay, bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye. Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
No, I'm just going to look to see if I can find the pause recording.